my goodness, what a great day it is here inside the community. Thank you guys for being here today. Hey, I want to ask everyone to do me a quick favor because we're jumping in today with #1 Amazon bestselling author Ron Alford from Southwestern Consulting, and I can't wait to introduce this gentleman to the community for everything he's been doing. I'm so excited. And by the way, huge shout out, Heather Rich, Jessica Mills, two amazing leaders inside the community, connected us with Buddy Puckett, Ron Alford, and all the amazing people over at Southwestern. Thank you guys so much for being awesome leaders, as always. But here's what I want you guys to do. Grab your phone really quickly. Go ahead and grab it and text one person who should be here right now. All right, so listen up. Ron Alford is absolutely incredible. I want to tell you guys a little bit, as if you don't already know enough. He's a senior partner, vice president of recruiting, and an executive level sales and leadership coach for Southwestern Consulting. This guy is absolutely amazing. He's an expert in recruiting, in sales training, coaching, and then helping individuals and teams to really reset their goals and go higher and further than ever before. He's a #1 best-selling author. I'm going to let him tell you more about that, right? His book is helping change people's perspectives of what is possible. He's coached Olympic athletes and top-level producers in real estate, in lending, all over the place, all the way from executives to sales pros. And I think this guy is absolutely amazing. We got to spend some time on the phone the other day, and I was super duper impressed by what he brings to the picture. So I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, Ron, thank you for being with us today, and for brushing off the 4th of July dust on your own shoulders to show up for us today with the community. Welcome, my friend.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone. Yeah, I'm fired up. I did a triple check with Jeff last week. Like, okay, are you sure the 5th of July? This is right.
Every week, no matter what, man, we're diehards. I love it.
I was impressed. He said that. He's like, man, we believe in consistency. We believe in, great, healthy routines and kind of that no matter what mindset. And so I love that. So we're going to have some fun. I'm going to share my screen here in a minute. I really love interactive, like hearing your guys' voices, making this something where we're all working on it together versus me, speaking at you this whole time. This is a topic that we have to live into. We can't just sit here and listen. We've got to really internalize it. And none of us have ever got this perfected. We're going to work on alignment. We're going to work on, I'm an old economics major 30 something years ago. You guys remember macro and micro. The big has to mesh with the little, or else we're off. The results do not come close to what they could have come to, hit. And so we're gonna dig in on this, and I want you guys to think of all parts of life. Of course, business. We're going to talk about your, the real estate life and listings and sellings and everything you guys do. But also think of your relationships, think of your spiritual life, think of your fitness, think of your morning routines, think of overall fulfillment, right? We all know a lot of wealthy, sad people. That's not our goal. Our goal is having massive financial freedom and being able to do an incredible amount of good with it, but it's got to be in line with the big picture stuff, if that makes sense. And so as we go through this, I'll have you guys unmute and chime in and share. And of course, you guys are awesome with the chat and all that as well. As we go. So, and then at the end, as Jeff mentioned, Buddy and I are teammates. We work with a bunch of different coaches that do more intimate, customized workshops in person or one-on-ones or whatever. You can reach us offline, if and when the time is right. So, boom. So here is what we're going to work on. And I'm going to ask someone to unmute and share. If you think about big picture vision mixed with my yearly and quarterly goals, right? I love it. It's the beginning of the Q3. Here we go. It's the halfway point in the year. It's perfect timing for us to dig in on a topic like this. It's a reset. This is a chance to kind of reset where I'm at in 2023 and make little adjustments. But if you think of the big picture vision, the business planning, goal setting, and then our daily habits, our actual activities, why is this stuff so important? I'm going to kind of jump ahead here a little bit. Who can unmute and share? Why is this stuff so important in our life?
Because if we don't know where we're going, we'll never get there.
And if we don't know where we've been, we'll make the same mistake over and over again.
Boom. Spot on. I love that. Who's the first one that shared if we don't know where we're going? Who was that?
That was me, Joanne Graham. I unmuted two computers at once. That's why I sounded so terrible.
We got you, Joanne. That's awesome. No, I love what you said. And it sounds so simple, right? I live in Seattle. You can walk around downtown and see the homeless population, and it breaks your heart. There's a lot of people that know what you just said, theory. People understand what they should do, right? It's not a lack of knowledge or awareness oftentimes, but it's the consistency of implementing this stuff. And so I want you guys to think of this as we go through this. Let me unshare my screen for a second, because I love seeing your guys' faces. When we go through this workshop, I don't know if any of you guys were raised the way I was. I'm a military kid, went to high school in Alaska on a military base, moved back to the US. Both of my older brothers were Marine Corps. My dad was 40 years military. The way we were raised, there wasn't a lot of fluff in our house. There wasn't a lot of stuff on vision and, self-talk and affirmations. And, it was just like, boy, get your stuff done and don't make excuses. And so I don't know a lot of you guys yet, of course. I don't know your backgrounds, but for me, this is a topic I resisted like crazy. Like vision and, the law of attraction and all this kind of stuff was like, what? Like for me, it was just grit, hard work, hustle, outwork the person next to you, and there's always a place for that. Of course, that hasn't gone away, but it's not an either or, it's both. We want to really work on both. And I'm a massive believer in the mindset, right? The mind over matter and what we think about. So think about this. If you guys, when I was raised, we did a lot of backyard fires. Any of you guys ever raised, maybe building bonfires out in the back? Awesome. See a bunch of you guys. So for me, and you guys know the metaphor here, in the Pacific Northwest, if you build a little backyard fire, and we shop at Amazon, so we get cardboard. Sometimes we have too much to put in our recycle bins, so we'll throw a little bit in the fire pit, and we'll light that cardboard on fire. And you guys all know, the minute cardboard is lit on fire, it's like a boom. It's a great flame. Looks impressive. And what does it do after a couple minutes? It's ash quick. It fades. And if you got that Seattle drizzle, a little wind, et cetera, it fades even quicker. And I think that's, for a lot of people, they understand the importance of having vision. They understand the importance of, a person that doesn't have a strong enough why won't be able to figure out the how, all those kind of quotes. They understand that. But our fire is like the cardboard fire. It's just burns out quick. And so if you think of vision as the fuel, man, we want to build that fire with fresh, dry logs. And then, you got to stoke the fire. If we got a bonfire for the next 8 hours last night, and we got people coming and going, we're roasting s'mores, we're hanging out, we're having a blast. You want that. And it's really cold out, imagine. You want that fire producing heat. You've got to stoke the fire. You've got to continue to add fresh, great wood to it. And you've got to poke it and prod it and adjust it and constantly being paid attention to it to get the proper fuel from it. Are you guys tracking? Awesome. And that is absolutely the case with our vision. And I want you guys to think of it that way. A lot of us maybe did a vision board 10 years ago and like, check, I'm good. Or maybe we did a business plan on January 1st. And it's like, that's supposed to motivate me through the entire year. It's ridiculous. And I am so guilty of making these mistakes in my past. And then I wonder why I'm tired and why I'm burnt out and why I'm irritable and why I'm short-sighted and why I tend to blame others instead of taking ownership. So this is some stuff we're going to dig in on, guys. Okay. So as we go through this, here's a few of our key, and you guys can all see my screen. Okay. Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So a few of our key principles we're going to work on. You guys know the quote scripturally. It's a proverb: without vision, people perish. I don't mean perish like die, but I mean perish like going through the motions. It's one of the saddest things you can see in a human is when they just wake up and go through the motions. There's not that zest. There's not that burning fire, right? To get after it. And so that you kind of perish inside, right? The second part is truly the things we bring about are the things we think most commonly about. If I look at John Sellers, for example, I'm just making this up, but let's imagine John says, man, I really want to work on building relationships with my neighbors. 3 months from now, are his relationships with his neighbors going to be more fruitful? Of course. It's let's say Jordan or Heather or someone says, man, I really want to work on fitness. I really want to work on meal planning so I don't have to think about it. At night I have healthy snacks, and I just, and you make a plan, you have some accountability. Of course, you guys all know a month later, 6 months later, that's going to bring fruit in your life. Some of you guys maybe say, well, I really want to budget more effectively. I want to watch my spending. Whatever the thing is, we're going to bring about the things we think most about. But a lot of times our thoughts get off into places that aren't serving us if we're not proactive about it. We're going to dig in on that. The third thing is what we would say specificity. Okay, vague equals crap. Vague is pretty much garbage. Like, it's not hard to find someone out in the neighborhood that says, man, I really want to be a great dad. It's not hard to find a person in the office that says, you know what, I really want to have a great Q3 and a strong second half of the year. Those things sound nice, but they're obviously vague, incredibly vague. And the more vivid and the more detailed we can be in what we want and why we want it and how we're going to get it, man, that is when a human is setting themselves up for some results. And then the last part is getting into the brain science of toward and away motivation. And guys, this is a fun one. And I'm obviously on a Zoom call. We're not going to get to unpack this. But if I got to go around the horn and I really got to know a lot of you guys, and I said, hey, the G team, I see the G team sitting there together. Or I said, hey, Ali Puentes or Ricky, man, talk to me about something that just lights you up and makes your eyes watery because you want to send your kids on this trip. You want to do something for your spouse. You want to do something for a loved one, a nonprofit you believe in. Like, there's something that really makes your heart explode when you think about it. For me, I was the first of my dad's 3 kids that didn't go into the military. And to this day, many decades later, that still drives me, the idea of not letting him down. Like, it makes me really emotional to think, what if I let my dad down? And that can make a human do extraordinary things. But if we tap into it, and we all have those things, you all have those people you want to make proud, that legacy you want to leave, the mark you want to leave on the world, whatever the thing is. But we got to stoke that fire. The fire is cardboard. If we let it fade out, it's going to be gone. We've got to constantly attend to that fire to get the fuel. So here is what we want to work on with our time. Okay. And so obviously, somehow, some way, we're all working towards some very specific results on this call. If there's one thing I'm guessing about the community, man, you guys are getting after it. You're hustling. You guys are all part of a team for a reason. If I stopped this Zoom and had everybody list out 10 to 15 specific results you want to see happen in the next month or 6 months, everybody could do it pretty quickly. Right? That's awesome. And these could be various parts of life. Now, what is the anatomy of a result, though? What are the things that contribute to the people that get results most consistently versus the ones that are roller coaster sporadic? Like when it's sunny out and the wind is perfect, and it's 72 degrees, boy, my golf shot is perfect. But a little bit of wind or a little bit of, I'm obviously joking here. When there's something outside of my control, I'm so up and down. And that's how a lot of us operate. And that's okay. But how can we tighten this up a little bit? So let me unshare here for a second. I'd love to hear a few results. If everybody had to think of at least 2 in your head, what are at least 2 or 3 results I'd love to see happen by the beginning of Q4? We just started Q3. So by the beginning of Q4, or maybe by January 1st, whatever the date is up to you. But man, I'd love to get X amount of listings. I'd love to get blank amount of new referral partners. I'd love to get, my budget locked in this way. I'd love to run a 5K. I'd love to lose 3 pounds. Can I get at least 2 or 3 of you guys to put it in the chat or unmute and share?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, man. So I've got big goals. I think big, man. I shoot for the stars with everything I do. And I really, really, really am hyper focused on for the rest of this year. I'd like to gain 10 in my rev share group, and not just for the money, not just for the financial sake, but I really, really feel that I am aligned with the greatest company in the world, and I want to share that with everybody else that's in this line of business. So I want to make that happen.
Mike, your enthusiasm is contagious, brother. I can feel it through the screen, man. And I'm sure the team already knows that. You said you want to gain 10 on your rev share by the end of the year. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right on, brother. Thanks for unmuting and sharing. Who else, guys? Come on. Don't be shy. Who else can share? What's a couple results?
I'm not shy. I'm sitting here in the dark at my new house, you guys. I'm sorry, my office isn't done yet. You can see the boxes behind me. Anyway, Ron, what I would like to do is start growing my group so that they can take advantage of rev share. I want to support them in building their rev share teams. I think I've kind of dialed in a little bit on that, doing okay on it. I could do better. As always, I'm always working on it, but I want to help them have that passive income. I want to help them feel more ownership and get those rev share checks every month. Let's
go. Heather, can I go a step further? I'm tracking as far as the big picture of what you want to see happen.
Right.
Anything specific in terms of X amount of people or X amount of rev share or like a specific tangible number?
So I have a few leaders in my group that are working toward recruitment. And what I'd like to do is dial in more with them individually, helping them get there. And honestly, it is it's something I need to be working on. I've been building my own and kind of, I guess, how do you say it, passively helping them on the side. I'd like to dig in deeper with some of them so that they can build too.
Okay, come on.
My why in my world is just seeing other people be successful and helping them get there. And like Mike said, what an incredible company that I get to teach them how to do what I'm doing, what I've done. That's what I want to see.
I love it. So Heather, I'm going to just say, let's say, I know you're putting more thought into this, but maybe at least 3 individual one-on-ones the next couple of weeks where you can really dig in and get into the nitty gritty of what you can do to help serve them. Is that?
Yep. I'm looking at you, Linda.
I love it. There we go. Guys, I see Jonathan's as well. Marathon in 7 weeks. Whoa, come on. Jonathan's got a few here. GCI of 150K in the last 2 quarters, 5 frontline partners. Come on. And first marathon, brother, I want to hear more about that. It's I got a big race in the Oregon Cascades 100 mile from Bend, Oregon to Sisters, Oregon in the Cascade Mountains in August. So Jonathan, we'll have to talk offline, man. We'll cheer each other on.
How's it going? Yeah, you're running an ultra?
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, I convinced myself over the last 20 years that I'm not a runner and that I'm made for lifting. But that's a lie because I ran a lot when I wrestled. I always said I wanted to run a marathon. So I'm not running an official race, but on my birthday in like 7 weeks, I'm going to wake up and run a marathon.
Oh, that's even better. That's cool. That to me is really cool when you do it, not for a medal. I mean, the medal's great too. And obviously having lots of people cheering you on, but doing it like that is almost spiritual, man. That's going to be a lifetime event for you. And then you said 5 frontline partners too.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So guys, I know we had a few of you guys share. Is everybody thinking of at least 2 right now though? At least a couple results for anybody that didn't share. Awesome. And I see other ones in here. Better organize my time with my business. Katerina, awesome. So obviously we're stoking some creativity right now. That's going to happen. If I just throw a bunch of ideas at you guys on a Zoom call, that's almost worthless. But if you can internalize this and think, okay, what can I do today? What can I do specifically that's going to matter in my life? That's where the magic can happen. So here is where I want to start this. When you think of the ultimate big picture purpose, right? If we're building a home, we're going to start with the foundation. You all know that. You all work with builders, right? That is by far the most important thing. And most of us, a lot of you guys on here have all done vision boards in the past of some sort. Am I correct with that? Awesome. Some sort of a vision wall, a dream board. I mean, call it whatever you want to call it. For me personally, I know the mistake I made years ago is I found a magazines, I got a glue stick. I saw, that's a cool watch. Boy, that boat looks neat. And it was just a lot of surface level stuff. A month after I created that board, how much heat was coming from that fire? Very little. I wasn't willing to fight to get that watch. I wasn't willing to do extraordinary things or adjust my lifestyle, to get those materialistic things. And that's because a lot of times we do it in the inverse order, the have, do, be. And you guys know the be, do, have. The whole idea of this is starting with the things that we want to be known for. I mean, you think of the character traits. You think of, I went, and Buddy knows, one of our coaches passed away in Q4. I went to Austin, Texas, actually New Braunfels, to be specific. And I was the last speaker at his celebration of life. And I talked about Mark Stacy. And you guys, this room was filled with people that were there to celebrate Mark's life. And I tell you what, there wasn't anybody thinking about Mark's cars or the home he lived, like his stuff. Everybody that spoke, everybody that shared, all the tears that were shed, all the laughter, everything was about the way Mark lived, the lives he touched, the people he impacted, the funny stories, and man, it was so much joy in the room. And I don't know about you, it scares the heck out of me to think of someday me having a celebration of life and there not being much for people to say. It's literally, I could literally have, it's hard not to have tears when you think about something like that. And so this is, again, we're going to be specific. What are some of the things that we would want to be known for? So if I think about, let's imagine, so let's use Ricky. Ricky, you're on the Zoom right now. Sorry to call on you when you're eating breakfast there. But anyways, I won't have you speak. But let's say I'm going to meet Ricky tomorrow. I'm going to golf foursome with him. I've never met Ricky, and I'm going to be, matched up with him the whole day. And I'm like, man, Joanne Graham, I know you know Ricky really well. Tell me about it. This is all imaginary, of course. But I say, hey, Joanne, man, I'm going to be with Ricky the whole day tomorrow in this golf tournament. Gosh, is he fun? Is he, outgoing? Is he a good golfer? Tell me about the guy. And you guys all know what are some of the things you would want to be known for? What are some of the things you'd love to have people share about you? Put in the chat or unmute, just real quick, one word answers. Character traits you would love to be known for. The G team, unmute. Can the G team unmute? Can I hear you guys say a couple words?
So what's really funny is I'm Ricky's wife. So I could tell you about how he would be in the tournament. So that's really weird that you picked us out like that. But
that makes me sound like a stalker. It makes
you sound prophetic and insightful, not a stalker. Anyway,
hilarious.
It's a blast with him on the golf course because he's super fun and he loves golf, like literally his most favorite thing to do. And it's going to be you're going to feel like you've known him your whole life the minute you step on the first tee. So I'm so happy that you got matched up with him.
That's awesome. Come on. Guys, that could not have been more meaningful and authentic. Joanne, thank you. Guys, give me another one. What's something you'd want to be described as? If someone was going to describe you, man, so-and-so is so resilient. Man, their generosity is through the roof. They have this tendency to always put other people. What are some character traits you guys would want to be known for?
I have one. I can't see myself, so I don't know what I look like on here. Anyways,
perfect.
I would love if everyone felt like they could just be comfortable with themselves and who they are when they're with me, and not have to mute themselves. You know what I mean? Or edit themselves. Just be comfortable with who they are, because I was so accepting of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Jen.
That makes sense.
It does. It's perfect sense. And imagining I know Jen, and I was telling you all about her, and I said, man, when you meet Jen, she doesn't care where you're from. She doesn't care who you voted for. She doesn't care your back. Like, she has this heart that is unconditional. The way she treats people is so pure and so genuine. And you guys, man, these things move mountains. And I love it. You guys are throwing some great ones in the chat. This is awesome. The culture you guys have built. I hear Heather kind. She's smart. She's giving. I hear tenacity. Katarina, let's go. Get after it. It doesn't matter what kind of pandemic's going on in the world. Like, she's got this spirit of resilience. She keeps going, right? This is awesome. This is the stuff that drives us. So when you think about it, let's go back to our board. That's where the purpose, again, remember the home we're building. When we walk into another person's home, we see these awesome countertops and we comment on the cabinets and the, wow, what a beautiful deck and sliding glass door. But when the storms come, that stuff don't mean a lick, right? It's the foundation that helps people get through adversity. And that's our purpose. That's the big picture purpose, right? So that's, again, what we're working on in this workshop is the big picture purpose and alignment with some of the little stuff. And so that's where we're going to dig in as we go through this. So I'm going to have you guys do me a favor. If everybody could we'll do this pretty rapid fire. We're not going to take a ton of time on it, but just think of two people in your life that, man, you've got a massive amount of respect for that person. You admire them. Let's have at least one of them be someone you've met. Could be a sister, neighbor, old coach, someone you work with, a spouse, a parent, someone you've met and done some life with. And then at least one person you've never met. You just read about them, watched a documentary on them. Like, man, Nelson Mandela, holy moly. Teddy Roosevelt, the things he did. Wow. Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. Oh my gosh. Right. So at least one that's living, and at least one, one that you've done some life with, and then at least one that you've never met. You just read about that person. Okay. And again, for time's sake, we'll just do a couple. I know it's hard to not have a list of 10 quickly, but we'll just pick a couple. Now throw a few of these people in the chat. Okay. Just could be Aunt Betty. Could be, Abe Lincoln, whoever, right? Just put a few of these people in the chat if you don't mind as we go through this. Keep thinking about them. Katerina, my father-in-law, Larry, and my mother-in-law that passed away years ago. Is it Delita? Is that how you pronounce it? And Katerina, thank you for sharing that. Is it?
Yes, Delita.
Delita, awesome. Mother Teresa and your husband. Let's go. Heather, your husband, smartest person. This is awesome. Come on, Taylor Swift, the marketing team. This is perfect. Grandma and grandpa, both not with us. Joanne, I know who Ricky Graham is. I'm not that slow. Let's go. John said, my mother, father, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think is that. Bob Proctor, Jen, awesome. Andrew says Jim Rohn. Let's go. Jim Rohn is a legend. Jeff Richmond and Abe Lincoln. Come on. That's awesome. I like the order of that too. Michael Landon. Come on. This is awesome, you guys. Okay. So now along with this, right, you all are thinking of a bunch. So then you'd think of the why. So my example, right, if I think of, I'm on the board of a nonprofit in Seattle, and John Damoral is I'll unshare for a second here. John Damoral is the head of our board. He's 82 years old. And I have never met a human that has had more unfair things happen to them in life, yet has zero bitterness. This guy, I tell you, it makes me emotional always talking about John. He has the heart of a lion. The guy did 81 push-ups on his 82nd birthday. And on the 82nd, he collapsed. He couldn't quite get all the way up. He's just got this heart to serve people. And so I could talk about John for days. But I would just say heart. I would say his giving attitude, right? If you had to think of a way to frame those people. So Jen, if you're thinking about Bob Proctor, or John Sellers, very specifically, if you're thinking about your mother, or, Heather Rich, if you're thinking about your husband, or Delita, your Mother Teresa, right? What are the characteristics that would go along with that person? So let me call on, is John okay to unmute? John Sellers, can you unmute, brother? I'll just pick
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you said 3 on your list. Can you pick one and then just maybe briefly share what is it about that person that stood out?
Yeah. So I'd say my mom first. We always joke that she was Pollyanna. For any of you older people know what Pollyanna is, like everything was always good. So like no matter what happened, my mom always saw the bright side of situations, and she saw the bright side of people. I always said I used to come home and somebody did something that I didn't like, and I'd say, oh, they just did this, or dumb, or this, and that. My mom, oh, they probably just had a bad day, or their mom probably didn't talk to them nice that day. And I'm like, no, they're just jerks, Mom. No, everyone's great. They just got issues. You gotta be forgiving and move on. She was pretty much that way till she died.
Dude, John, I won't add anything to that. It's perfect. It's perfect. And guys, I meditate on those things. I don't know about you guys. I have to daily think of ways where I can have stillness or quiet and think on those people. I mean, John, how rare is it to find a person right now that gives grace and doesn't slander, doesn't gossip, doesn't want to talk trash about everybody and their mama, right? Like, just, it's so rare. And so that's what these people are. These are people on your short list, 3 to 5 or 7. And you think of those people, our minds think in pictures. We're going to talk about vision boards a little bit more, but that's put images of these people on your vision board. I mean, when we go through, Mike Holt, you said Jeff Richmond and Abe Lincoln, man, Jen, because when you see those images, it's not just the picture of that person's face. Desiree, you put Michael Landon, right? Colleen, Keanu Reeves, awesome. But then you think about why. What is it about that person? Here's a quick little action item. By the way, any of the people you guys listed that are living, man, pop them a text after this workshop. Pop them a text and say, hey, we did an exercise this morning. We were talking about people we admire, respect, and love on our short list and why. And I just want to let you know you were on my list. I just want to let you know you were right there. And you guys, can you imagine having someone text you that someday? Like, you talk about the greatest gift you can give people. Like, man, that is stuff that just, again, it really truly moves mountains. And that's when our purpose has a depth to it or a heat to it. Let's keep talking about our fire. Everybody feels the heat coming from that flame. It's not some cardboard crap, right? Like, this is true, man, this is true fuel. That's when our purpose is starting to really evolve. Okay, so let's keep going. Again, for time's sake, obviously there's a lot more we could talk about with purpose, but we're going to start getting a little bit more micro. Okay, we started macro, remember, very, very big. Now we're starting to get into, and I'm guessing everybody on here did your business plans, right? To start the year. I love goals. I won't have you guys answer this out loud, but on a scale of 1 to 5, you guys can all self-assess. If you're a 1, that's like, what? A goal? I know no one on the community would be a 1 in your guys' crew. A 2, though, I've said them before, but you know what? If I'm honest, I've never really had a great plan around it. That I would be a 2. A 3 means I'm pretty consistent. I set them at least yearly, if not quarterly. And oftentimes I'll have a bit of a plan, right? If I'm a 4, that means I write these suckers out, not just because the calendar tells me to on January 1st or April 1st or whatever, but I do it because, man, I know when my fire is getting weak, I need to think about my goals. I need to write them. I need to make them active goals. That would be a 4. And guys, a 5, these suckers are on my bathroom mirror where I brush my teeth. They're in my shower. I look at them. I breathe them in. I pray over them. I talk to my team about them. I'm constantly updating them. I mean, they're a part of me. They literally seep out of my pores. And that sounds crazy, but that would be a 5. Okay. And so audit yourself. This is an honesty workshop. This is just, there's no emotion or no judging but just if you had to kind of think, where have I been the last 6 to 12 months? Maybe I'm a 2.2. If you're a 3.8, what would it look like to get to a 4.5 in the next 6 months? Right. And then you guys know we always work on progress, not perfection. None of us are 5.0s every day. That's ridiculous. That's just not, but if we can get more consistently to a place, boy, that's when this stuff gets fun. And we know theory. We know these Harvard studies on all the people that have goals and writing. We know all this stuff, but I would question you guys, how many of you are really practicing this as much as you know it? How many of us could be better? That's, my hand is raised. I know I could be a little tighter on this. Writing them down, thinking about it, really having them top of mind. And when we do it, we know the more, I'm not going to go into crazy depth in this because I think most of you guys know this acronym, but the more we can make these things SMART goals, the more they're going to produce fruit. Right? When you plant a seed, you water it, you nourish it, you give it the proper amount of shade and sun and love. And, boy, that seed produces incredible fruit. And it's the same thing with a goal that is, number one, specific. Again, I don't want to just be fit. You know, I'm not going to just Jonathan is going to do a marathon in 7 weeks. You know, boom, very specific. 26.2 miles. That's specific. And it's measurable, right? He's not going to just wake up and do it. I'm imagining he's, you know, okay, I'm going to do a half marathon by July 15th. Let's see, I've got that 20-mile run and 3 weeks before, then I'm going to taper. You measure it. And just like a lot of you guys talked about, Mike talked about, you know, 10 new rev share partners by the end of the year. Heather, you talked about the people you're growing in your team. You guys all have these things. How can you measure it? The A is it's attainable. Man, I set big, I think big. If I'm setting goals, I want to stretch. The whole idea of a goal is to stretch your belief barrier. And at the same time, you believe in it. You have conviction. When adversity hits, and when I feel a little bit behind on my goal or a little bit of doubt starts creeping in, because that's pretty much always what happens. Whenever you have a big goal, doubt will creep in. It's kind of the way it works. You still believe in it. On July 5th, even though rates are funky, that this is funky, that that's funky, you're not giving up on that goal. It is attainable. You know this can happen. You're a person of strong faith, right? And then the R is it's relevant. It actually matters to your vision. You're not setting it just because Susie next door to you said it. This is your deal. It's relevant to you. And then you also review it with consistency. And then, of course, the T is there's a time frame. I'm not just going to do this, but I'm going to do it by August 1st. I'm going to do it by September 15th, whatever it is. Here's an example. This is a good friend of mine we've been coaching. So Buddy, my teammate on here, a lot of you guys know Buddy. Our niche is one-on-one. We do a lot of group stuff, but our niche in Southwestern Consulting is coaching people one-on-one. That way it's personal. It's 100% confidential. It's very personal and it's customized. Mike Gallagher is an example of a coaching client, lives in San Luis Obispo, California, the Central Coast. Awesome guy. He's a VP for Sunrun Solar. We do our predominant people we coach is real estate and mortgage, but we work with any other industry as well. And so Mike's a neat example of someone we've been coaching for a long time. And this guy's talented. He's got a lot of opportunity. He's a hard worker. Like all that stuff was there, but he was a little bit sporadic on aligning his vision and his goals with his habits. And so this is an example of a one-pager he and I worked on in his coaching program. And he's got his 5 banner goals, if you see, and then he's got some additional goals he wants to do on there as well. And it's just a clean one sheet of paper. And at least every other coaching call, he and I have a cadence every other week. We have our deep dive coaching call at least once a month. He and I will take half of our call. We'll just go through this and we'll make adjustments. Okay, man, how are you doing with the mind? How are you doing with your meditation? How are you doing with this? And what I love about his goals is it represents the different parts of his life. You guys know the ideal wheel, right? It's got the mind, the body, it's got his personal stuff, it's got his business stuff, and it's got a good variety. Is this helpful for some of you guys to see? Awesome. This is an example of SMART goals lived out. And when we think about the ideal wheel, he's got these different buckets of life. This is another little action item we work with clients on is, just kind of auditing at least once a quarter. Any client we work with, we're going to do this at least once a quarter. Just kind of take a step back. No emotion here. This is just data. Data delivers feedback. And champions crave feedback. Okay. And so feedback is allows us to then what do we do with it? And so at least once a quarter, I'm going to audit. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing physically? Am I doing like weights, and you just give yourself you don't overthink this. This is not a thing to take an hour on. You just take 10 minutes, stick into my schedule, opportunity for, and you plot it out, you divide by 10, you kind of plot it out on the wheel and you realize, man, I'm an 8.2 over here, but I'm a 4.7 right here. You know what? I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to get some accountability. I'm going to invest in something that's going to help me. I've had seasons in my life where I've realized, man, my finances are garbage. Like I'm earning decently well and my spending is out of control. And so it's like, I got to tighten up that area. And you guys get it, right? It's like going into the gym with someone that has massive biceps, but their calves are like pencil thin. We're looking for that well-rounded scenario here. So
Hey, I feel like you're picking on me. Genetics play a role, friend.
I just excuses in there, Mike.
I love it. Genetics do, brother. That's awesome. Well said. Hey, you only see my head on this thing, man. You can't see my pencil thin legs. So that's why. That's awesome. Yeah. And this stuff's fun. Is this helpful? Are you guys all tracking? Awesome. I'm just kind of glancing at everyone's faces here. So let's keep rocking it. I'm gonna set us up for some time. Let's take a breath here for a second before we get real micro. So far, we've worked on very big picture purpose and the foundation. We've worked on a little bit more getting into the data, getting into the actual goal setting. Now we're going to dig into the more granular habits, the routines, the actions, like the daily stuff that really defines us. If there's any questions or thoughts or amens or whatever, obviously I want to make sure we pause here and there. And obviously, Jeff, I appreciate you and I have talked through this a bunch before today. So please chime in if you know your group so well. Okay.
Hey, Ron, one thing that I'm noticing already here, and I hope everybody feels this as well, is like this idea that we come back to, and hopefully you recognize there's a cadence to this, right? Like we hit the mind every once in a while, and I'm so glad that we have somebody who's like an international level expert coming in to speak to this topic, because the reality is when you're focused on your mindset, on understanding how success truly stacks up, it's not an accident. That's hopefully you're already kind of gleaning that from this call. Success is never an accidental thing, right? And we've mentioned this before. You don't accidentally win the Olympics at something. There's an idea of being deliberate and then purposefully planning out how you're going to approach and then sticking with that plan. You'll notice even when Ron was showing us that example of one of his clients, it's like, here's their goals. They're looking at them with a regular cadence. They're reevaluating. They're making micro refinements, right? Like the airplane is constantly making slight adjustments so it stays on track. If you just set it and forget it and go to the back of the plane, you're going to wake up on the ground, not in a good way, or you won't wake up. So the beauty here is it's about watching our dials in the cockpit of our own plane and understanding that it's multifaceted. And by the way, Ron, I absolutely love that you pulled out that kind of wheel of success or wheel of life, this idea that a person is multifaceted, right? Whether it's your mental, your physical, your spiritual, et cetera, that if you feel vacant in one area, then your wheel feels like it's flat on that side. And then your life feels like, why am I kind of ka-chunking my way down the road? It's because you're not living a full life. Well, but I'm making $3 million a year. Good for you. Being miserable with $3 million is worse than being miserable poor. I promise, right? Like you got to put it all together, man. So you don't want to be empowered in one area of your life to like the level 10 degree and feel like a complete vacancy, because you're going to feel like a fraud. And the reality for me, and I've recognized this before, and Ron, I'm guessing you've felt this before, is that the truth is, if somebody is experiencing success, massive success in one area of their life, but massive failure, even if it's behind the curtain and nobody can see it in another area, they are completely miserable despite that success. That one success does not fix the feeling. The feeling comes from holistic wellness at the level of the human being.
Amen. I love that, Jeff. Thank you for saying that. And Ron, I've got so many notes all over my desk right now. I've been coaching and mentoring new real estate licensees since 2013. I teach pre-license at a couple of community colleges. And one thing that Buddy and I talked about before we arranged for you to attend, thank you, Buddy. I'm so glad you set this up, is he talked to me about what I was seeing with real estate agents that I was working with or mentoring. And I love that we're talking about goals and we're talking about the wholeness and the wellness. But one of the things I told Buddy is, where we struggle in this profession, and I think I'll get an amen from every agent here, is consistency and opening our doors for business. That's like my thing this month. It's like you can't sell anything in your grocery store if the doors are closed, if you didn't wake up and get out of bed and open those doors for business. So I hope that you're going there on that, on building that persistency and consistency. There's so many real estate agents who are they're bedding down and hibernating right now. And it's crazy because there's people out there that need us and we're floating on the lake. It's great to float on the lake. I believe in that wheel. I believe in that spirituality of that wheel. But I also have those agents come back to me a month and a half from now saying, Heather, I think I'm going to have to get a job. I think I'm going to have to, go bag groceries at Roth's part-time so I can pay my realtor dues. Anyway, thank you, Ron. I'm so glad you're here. We probably need lots more coaching from you. Thank you.
Yeah. And Heather, thanks for saying that. And believe me, a lot of what you said, all of our coaches have coaches. We're no different. We have blind spots. We have these little areas where we can tighten up but I love that C word. We're going to talk a lot about the consistency. And so Jeff, yeah, thank you for chiming in too, because I think it's just that's where you guys are working on the big picture stuff. The reason why I wanted to include a lot of that today, I had someone that helped me sell a home 6 years ago now. And, we never referred her out. We didn't use her again with something after that. It was nothing against her or the process. Everything was okay and fine. There was no complaints, but it wasn't memorable. And I'm telling you, the stuff we're working on today, people remember you because you're comfortable with who you are. You're authentic. The most genuine people, you treat people differently. You ask better questions. They don't feel scripted. Of course, you have your proper language, your sales psychology, your scripts, but people never feel that way. And that's why a lot of this stuff is so important with our businesses. It really does drive that. And so let's keep rocking. The habits this is where it all comes together. This is where the magic happens right now. We all know, obviously the big picture purpose, right? And the actual goals, the SMART goals, I can have them all listed out. But boy, if I don't wake up tomorrow on July 6th and get after it, the goals and vision didn't mean a whole lot, right? This is where there's actually, where the rubber meets the road. And so we're going to hit this in two ways. I'm going to hit it in terms of a tracking way and then also the emotional way. Okay, so a little more of a logical way and then more of an emotional way, because you all know our minds are working double time both ways. Left brain, right brain type stuff is important to hit both sides. And so the first way is something you guys are all familiar with, and it's just tracking. It's just knowing our numbers. I'm not going to get deep into this, but every time I produce a lead, ideally the warmer the lead is, the better, right? Hopefully I'm not buying leads. I've got enough of a network and I'm out networking where I'm getting good warm leads coming in. And every time I reach out and make that call or make that touch and set a meeting, we know there's ratios. And my point with this is measuring what matters is an absolute fundamental with people that are growing. Really dialing in your numbers. And this is not easy at first. Sometimes you got to play with the numbers, but really tracking is a necessary component. And Jeff talked about earlier, some of you guys talked about, and when he was talking about, you don't just accidentally get into the Olympics, right? You visualize it, you see it, you have the massive why, but then you also track the workouts, the meal planning, whatever the kind of things are. We call them your CSFs in our coaching program, the critical success factors. So if I want to start earning an extra $2,000 a month in the next 6 months, if I want to get my golf score down, if I want to start running a mile 10 seconds faster, if I want to start, whatever the result is, right? Whatever the result is I'm getting after, there's very specific actionable things I can do today that are going to help me get that result. And here's the cool thing about tracking, guys. Be creative. Do it your way. Obviously, you can use Salesforce and all the fancy apps and all that. Sometimes just a simple 3x5 index card is awesome. You can have a little simple index card where you track it out and you make it once a day. I have a client in Clackamas, Oregon that does poker chips. He literally every day he's got his very specific metrics and he loves gamifying it. When he's having fun with work, things are happening. When it's monotonous and boring and like all data driven Excel spreadsheet for him, it feels like he's walking in quicksand. So he's got his poker chips. Every time he does this touch, he gets a red one. Every time he does this, another white chip, another blue chip. At the end of the day, he looks at his stacks and for Scott, it just really supports his mindset, the way he does that. I got a good old sheet of paper right here. I always carry this with me. I'm on a flight tomorrow. Doesn't matter what's going on in life. I've pretty much always got a 21-day or a 40-day checklist. And it's just 3 or 4 simple things that if I'm doing these things, boy, life is better. Life is better. And Buddy knows, of course, we have Infusionsoft. We're moving into Salesforce. We have our CRM. We have all that stuff as well. But sometimes just having this simple piece of paper can make a great difference. I'll show you one more example right here. Share my screen. This is so remember back to Mike Gallagher. Remember my friend in San Luis Obispo, California. Please zoom in here. This is a tracker he and I started. So it's one thing to have the vision, the why. It's one thing to have the goals, his awesome, remember his 5 banner goals? But then we started tracking. This is the month of June, the month that just finished. And we simply walked through. Of course, he's got all of his work metrics in a different place. We track all of his work metrics separately. And in my opinion, just keeping this simple, 3 to 5 things. He wanted to have 9. I wouldn't go too far or this can become daunting. But for him, if he's waking up at 6, he knows a little bit of meditation. We got him a 5-minute journal. If he's doing his journal, boy, he's got a lot more gratitude going on. If he's doing his workouts, if he's affirming his family, if he's sending shout outs to his team. And guys, some of these numbers look like 5, 6, 7s. He's not perfect with this. When we started this, he was averaging 1s and 2s and 3s. He's seen massive progress in the controllable activities daily, which of course is going to really affect the fruit he's getting, out of what he does in his life. And so however you track it is up to you. But the key is making it fun, making it consistent, and tracking data. Measure what matters. Okay, let me hit a different type of habit.
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
Sorry to jump straight in there. This is just such an awesome perspective that you've brought to this conversation, and this idea of tracking and measuring what matters. In other words, what makes an impact. And the number of times sometimes that I see people waiting to track the result, but not tracking the behavior that gets to the result. Right? It's the difference between cause and effect. And so a lot of times they'll measure the effect. Well, I only had 2 closings last month. Well, what are you going to have? What are you going to do next month? Well, I'm going to have 4 closings. Yes, but what's going to change in order to get us to those 4 closings, right? And a lot of times we'll talk about the result that we want to see instead of what's really called like a leading indicator or a behavioral shift that's going to get you to that result. And I love that conceptually, when you look at that little tracking metric that gentleman was doing, every single one of those things, you could see it as a cause that leads to an effect. And the effect is what he wants, but the cause is what he does. And a lot of times you don't do what you want. I don't go out and do making $10 million a year, right? I go out and do things that lead to that effect, or I don't go out and do, I'm 20 pounds more muscular, which I need to be, right? I want to do that. And so what do I need to do, however, in order to get to that result? And that would be what you track. And I love that you're showing this, because I think for people who maybe struggle with this concept, it's not about tracking your results. It's about tracking your behaviors that get to the results. And that's this be, do, have, not have a do be, or whatever someone else is doing, right?
Well said. Come on, dude. Jeff, spot on. I love it. It's this is good stuff, guys. It's I hurt for people that always try to go this alone, that try to be lone wolves and do this stuff alone. And that your guys' name is so fitting, because it's just the community is like, man, we're better together. That's such a cool way to look at this. So the other part of habits, before I share my screen, when you think about thought control, if I said, guys, I'm going to talk about mindset for a minute, most of you guys would be like, I read about mindset. I know mindset. I listened to a podcast yesterday on mindset. You know this. This is not a new topic. But if you think about the gravity of this, like think about this for a second. In the history of humankind, anything that has ever been destroyed, think about the wars, the nations that go to war against each other and destroy each other. Think about businesses that have fallen and gone bankrupt. Think about marriages that end. Think about all these things that have ended or been destroyed. They all began with some thoughts that got out of control. That's all it was. It was thoughts. It was head trash or toxic thoughts, right? That got out of control. And I'm not going to get all, scriptural here, but whatever your beliefs are, a lot of us are wired where our mind is not naturally our friend. Like neutral will drift into negative if we don't get proactive on it. Now, flip it for a second. Think of all the beauty in the world. Think about all the architecture. Man, that you see the bridges that are built. You see the nonprofits that have been started by people. You see the generosity. You see all the beauty that's out there in the world. Those things all began with some simple thoughts that someone watered and fed and acted on. And I get really amped up on this topic. I just cannot emphasize enough how big this is. And so when you think, let's go back to the slide. At the end, we all have some form of success we're aspiring to, right? If we went through the room and I had Jen and Kimmy and Jordan and Jay, and I see Desiree, if I had you guys all share, man, what is your version of significance? What is your version of success, right? You all would share something along the lines of living in a life that mattered, using your giftings for good, like all these things that really truly define a life well lived, right? When you reverse engineer this, when you go backwards, obviously we're going to get there because of the way we act. We act based on how we feel. If I don't feel like getting up this morning, to walk my dog and take a jog early on July 5th, but those feelings are based on beliefs that have been programmed in me since I was little. In other words, like I love to get up and get fresh air in the morning because that's something that I just always do. It's a programmed belief. And we are a product of our belief systems. And so this is not again, let me unshare for a second. Think about all, my ears are trained like a dang German Shepherd dog to hear the negative speak, right? The stuff that people say. I have 3 kids all going through puberty at the same time in my house, by the way. So it's awesome. It's really fun. And it'll break your heart hearing your kids come home from middle school and high school and say the stuff they say. And guys, we're just big kids. We're just big, older versions of them. That's all we are. So guys, what are things we've said or we've heard someone say? Maybe it was our neighbor or our friend. Let's be safe here. But if you're willing to be vulnerable, throw a few in the chat. What are some negative thoughts that, man, I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, I'm always late. Sorry, Jeff, I wasn't ready this morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm so unorganized. I'm not good on video. I don't like to do marketing and branding, or I'm not a spreadsheet person, or I'm not a numbers person, or what are some others, guys? What are some other things? Here we go. Yeah, I'm not good enough at that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not as extroverted or outgoing as that person. I'm not as creative. Oh, my voice sounds terrible on video or on audio, right? These are everywhere. And guys, just listen. Pay attention the next day or two. And a lot of them are said out loud. A lot of times you guys know we just think them. They're just thoughts in our head. And so again, neutral will drift into negative. We have to proactively reprogram. A lot of the coaching Buddy and I do, yeah, it's sales coaching, it's business coaching, it's strategy, it's systems, it's motivation, it's whatever, a combination of whatever someone needs. But really it's rewiring thoughts. It's reprogramming some beliefs, because that's ultimately where sustainable growth happens. You can manipulate short-term growth all over the place. You can help a human have a good July, not too hard. But to get sustainable growth, we have to rewire. Man, that is where the magic happens. And so it's building affirmations. It's building things you frame in when you speak to people. You don't have to stand in front of a mirror and say it out loud 5 times or something. You can do that too. But it's just, let's say I haven't been a good spender. I've been bad with money, which is something in my past that was true. Instead of beating myself up all day long and self-deprecating humor, like, oh, you don't know, Linda, I'm so bad with money, right? Maybe I reframe it as, man, I haven't been the best with money in the past, but I'm getting better. I've got some people helping me with it. And you just simply reframe past tense, present tense. It's crazy how that little shift sometimes, the reprogramming, because we all know the way we feel will lead to the way we act and behave today, which will lead to the results we get in every part of life. every single part of our life. It's bonkers how that happens. So let's bring this home. I'm conscious of our time, and I want to make sure we end this on a high note, and I respect everyone's time. So when a human makes little adjustments, I loved Jeff's analogy earlier of the airplane making little course corrections. Brilliant. There's no 180s. There's no big, massive 180s that are needed right now. This is little adjustments. So it's business and personal, right? A little more of this, a little less of that. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to stop doing that. And then almost everything is wrapped around healthy accountability. Good intentions are everywhere. You are having gut feelings right now. Everyone on here except Kimmy, because I can see Kimmy's on the phone. That's okay. But everyone else is having gut feelings right now. and so healthy accountability is what helps us take action on those intentions, right? It helps us actually take some action. And boy, once this stuff becomes a habit, watch out. That's when stuff happens. Let's bring this home with vision. Okay, this is the bridge. So this is where kind of the bridge of everything we're working on is really fun. We talked about vision boards a little earlier. I'm a massive believer in these. I think doing them in a way that's fun. I know most of you said you've done a vision board in the past. Awesome. I would challenge the audience. It's rare for me to find a human that has done one recently that's really, truly looking at it consistently each week and getting the power from it that they could be. I've been guilty of writing some goals out in the past and then just letting it collect dust or save it in a Word document or doing a vision board where it's just kind of a painting on a wall. And then it loses the emotional touch. The heat from the fire gets stale. And so let's talk about how to do this in a way where it really produces fuel in the months ahead. So if you're looking to update this, modify it, tweak it, make it a little more meaningful, the first thing we want to do is, again, get into the be, do, have. You guys started thinking of those character traits you want to be known for. Man, when someone speaks about me at my celebration of life, they're going to talk about how loyal I was, how I showed up, how I had this heart for service, how I loved listening and asking questions and not just talking so much, think of all those character traits. What are the things I want to do with this life? This isn't a practice life. This is the one. This is the only one. What are some of the incredible things I want to do, the incredible people I want to help, the trips I want to take, right? So you think big, you write it all out, you then go on Pinterest or Google Images, and you simply type in the word generosity or resilience or whatever those words are you thought of, those little quotes, and it'll send you these awesome images and quotes and words and pictures, and boom, print those suckers out, save them to your camera roll, print them out, arrange them all. The challenge is not going to be getting the photos. You're going to have too many. You're going to have so many. Now you've got to narrow them down in a way, because the ones that make your board, it's almost a spiritual moment. Like when it gets some of that sacred space on your board, imagine you buy an acre of land and there's so much you want to do on this 1 acre. And you've only got so much space. That's the way your vision board is. You finalize that sucker, you put it in a place where you can see it often. And of course, my bonus 6th step is a shameless plug. Send it to someone. Send it to each other. Obviously, send it to Jeff and your teammates with EXP. But obviously, hopefully, you have someone outside of EXP or someone outside of your little community that you invest in. Some sort of a coach that's helping give you feedback that can inspire you and help you think a little bigger. Here's some examples. And these all have a good mix of images and words and pictures. Guys, every picture, by the way, tells a story. This lady right here, Preet, this is my most recent board. This lady, you can see her right here. She's a neighbor of mine years ago. I'll unshare my screen. Years ago where I lived, I was going through probably one of my biggest valleys. One of my 3 kids was diagnosed with leukemia. He was going through a lot of treatments. We were just at a very low place in our life. And I had a lot of weeks where I just remember coming downstairs and everything was heavy. You guys know when everything just feels heavy, like you're stuck. And I remember being so caught up in my own emotions. And day after day, I would see this woman walk by the front of my house at like 6 a.m. And her posture was terrible. Like she was bent over with a cane and would walk so slowly. And it didn't matter if it was raining or snow or cold or hot or what it was. This woman would walk by the front of my house with like just a peaceful, most peaceful grin and smile on her face. Like she just didn't have a care in the world. And for weeks, I didn't think anything of it. And then I started looking at this lady when I was waiting for my coffee to make in the mornings. And she just turned into this massive inspiration. One morning I went out and took a selfie with her. She probably thought I was a weirdo. Because I wanted to remember this woman forever. I don't live in that house anymore. I'll never probably get to see her again. When I look at that picture on my vision board, it does something to me that I cannot even describe, you guys. That's the power of these images. When you look at those words, when you look at those pictures, it does something to you. It recenters you. It brings you back to the best version of you. We all have the gremlin version of us, the weirdo, like we all get into weirdo version every now and then. That's okay. But this brings you back to the best version of you so quickly. And guys, that's the idea of having something like this. I would also say when you do these vision boards, have at least 2 or 3 people you can share them with that want to hear you talk about every picture. Okay, so for example, let me re-share this. Let me zoom out. There we go. So if you show your board and someone says, gosh, what is it about that dog or that quote? Hey, that picture with the snowboards on the right, tell me about that one. And you just get to talk about it. You just get to talk about this little boy right here that's smiling. What does that mean? And you have at least 2 or 3 people, someone from the community, someone that you work with, hopefully, someone maybe from your personal family. And then again, someone that's an outside coach of some sort, an outside accountability partner, someone. Because when these people listen to you talk it through, it's awesome how much more it brings. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it back to you. Definitely have some time. I'd love to hear your thoughts and all that as well. Let me unshare my screen and bring us home. Hopefully some of this stuff landed with you guys.
Oh my goodness. Well, absolutely fabulous content today. And everyone do me a quick favor. If you got at least one thing today that, if I truly implemented this, I could skyrocket my income and my life, hit me up with a yes in the chat. I just want to give Ron some love here. Mike gives you all 10 arms there. That's awesome. Heather says yes. Mike says yes. Joanne says yes. Kimmy says, now I want to make a vision board. Got tons of yeses pouring in. Look at that. Buddy, there we go. Even your homeboy. Jen, I love it. So Ron, thank you very, very much. And what I can say very confidently are the things that have moved me the most forward in my entire career have to do with one piece of real estate that I own, and it's located the 6 inches between my ears. When you master development of that piece of real estate, then everything else falls into place. And if you don't, then everything feels like an uphill battle. Has anyone ever had those like months, weeks, years where you're like, what am I doing? Like I'm doing all the right things, quote unquote, but I'm not getting the result. That's because you're not doing all the right things. The truth of the matter is the right things started here, not outside there, right? And then when Ron was going through this step by step, and some of this stuff, what frustrates me a lot of times, right? And I know that we're operating at a higher level here, and I love the people on this call, and I can see, by the way, there's so many like $1 million+ producers on this call. So there's great people here. This is an amazing group. And I will say, even for all of us, how many times is it easy to let this stuff slide? Right? Absolutely. I do it constantly. And then I'm fortunate. I have a partner who's on the same journey with me who can help me to check mindset or focus or emotional anchoring or whatever it is that we need to kind of circle back to. But Ron, this is crazy powerful. And this is part of what drives success. So what I'd love to do, we've got 15 minutes remaining here for the amazing folks on this call. Could some of you be a little bit vulnerable and say, here's something specific in my business that I want to tackle, and I find that I'm hitting an obstacle, or perhaps I find that I'm losing energy, or I'm feeling fatigue, or I'm finding just something about it feels like I'm running on sandpaper, right? Whatever it is, there's going to be something about something in your business or your life that feels like it's holding you back from the success that you truly want. And what I know is true is if I went person for person on here and I say, what do you want more than anything in the world? You could answer the question. And if you say want, it means that you still lack it. So this is universally true. If you want anything, it means you don't have it, right? So you can't want something simultaneously while having it. I don't want this cup because it's sitting next to me. Scratched up as it is, I love it. It keeps my ice cold. I don't want that cup. I own that cup. There's a difference, right? If you own something that you've already gone after, good for you. But if you still want something or need something or feel like you should have, or whatever that verbiage is that you wrap around that, it means that lack is existent right now in your business. So is somebody willing to unmute, be a little bit vulnerable, and share something here for the benefit of all of us on the call to go a little bit deeper? Because I think a little bit of live fire here would be really, really fun to wrap out the call. Who's willing to do that, to get some free $1 million coaching today? I see a hand. Here's Heather. Heather?
Yeah, here I am. I push myself so incredibly hard in my business and in supporting my team that I don't take care of myself. Where I will literally get up in the morning, I'll get on the phone, I'll get on a Zoom. I haven't eaten, I haven't meditated for sure, I haven't stretched, I have a half a cup of coffee in me, and it'll be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then physically, my body's 52 years old, going, you've got to stop and eat something. You've got to rest. Anyway, my days run away with me. And so I need to work more on taking care of me so there's enough of me to do what my heart work is, which is what I just talked about.
Yes.
I've had health issues. John brought him up in our initiative meeting. He knows, he's smiling at me with those big brother eyes. I let myself physically and mentally empty every day. And it's like, how long can I go today before I'm spent? So anyway, taking care of myself needs to become more of a priority at this age. And I tell all the young people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have listened to all of those older folks telling me I needed to take care of myself physically, mentally, those things.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I have a couple thoughts. Jeff, are you chiming in?
No, I want to let you grab this one, Ron. I'm interested.
Okay, man, Heather, thank you. I just like that. How can you not? And I'm hoping everyone on the call is like living into that, because even though that was very personal for Heather, I've got to think every one of us is like, man, there's an area of my life where I don't have boundaries, or I'm just operating on default. I just kind of default behaviors versus like really thinking through. So the first thing is the grace and forgiveness we talked about earlier in this call. 52 is young. Let's go, Heather. We got a lot of, so first of all, like, we're young. We got plenty of time ahead of us. Let's not beat ourselves up. You know, a lot of what makes the best leaders are the ones that have been through tough stuff. And so that endears people to you. So being thankful for our challenges, that I would say that's always the first. The second thing is going back to that little habit checklist, because boundaries are huge. And it's just, I agree. When you wake up, I think we can all relate with the reactive. Like, it's 11 a.m. and it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten well. I haven't gone out and gotten any fresh air. So proactively building in little breaths, and you guys all know the calendar. The time blocking is everything. We could do a whole nother couple hours on that. But so proactively building into the calendar, maybe 7:45 a.m. I walk around my house once with my pet and I make a little smoothie, and it just takes 10 minutes. And then at 11 o'clock, I meditate, or I do my journal for 5 minutes, or I pray. And then at 2 o'clock, I have Alexa play the comedy channel because I need to laugh out loud because I've been taking myself too seriously or something. But the point is proactively building this stuff into our calendar. So that way, again, it's not an intention. And then what is one of your affirmations? I'm a man. I love planning the things that matter most in my calendar, and I love sticking to my plan. I'm getting better every day at sticking to my plan. I'm a person who follows through. And you say it with gratitude. If you pray it, you pray it. If you don't pray, then you just speak it. But either way, man, I'm getting better every day at being someone that lives out my plan. And lo and behold, that's something that defines you. People will see Heather and be like, man, Heather, I love how you do that. I love how you do that. And 6 months ago, it wasn't a strength, but we've made adjustments.
I love that. So building it into my calendar. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put a timer. I'm going to put in a reminder alert on my phone to remind me, because I dig in so deep that it was 8 a.m. and suddenly it's 2 and I have no track of time.
What a strength too, right? And you guys all on this call know a lot of times our strengths are also what gets us, and so that's such a strength and a quality of yours. And at the same time, we all need a little refining, but I love that. The calendar. And then one last thing I'd say, and Jeff, you can take it, is, and then celebrating, catching ourselves doing it. Sometimes we do something and we grow and then we just move on. We don't give ourselves the pat on the back. Like, share with a friend, like, man, I'm so grateful. Lately so if you journal it, you write it out in a journal, or you share it with a friend, but man, I'm so thankful. I'm getting better at planning out my mornings. My morning routines have gotten so much tighter lately. And there's no ego in it. There's no arrogance in it. It's a gratitude statement. So that's some thoughts.
I love that. It's the idea of kind of using the carrot and the stick. That I feel like those gratitude moments are actually part of the carrot. I know that every single evening when Lexi and I do our walk, we express usually 3 or more gratitudes. We don't do it like it's some formal, exercise. We're literally on a walk. But one of us will just start and say, I'm grateful for, and then we just kind of are in that part of our walk, and it's a beautiful thing. But I feel like a lot of times what many of us can do, and I've been guilty of this at multiple cycles through my life, is beating myself up for the stuff that I don't want. And it reminds me of the skiers, right? Have you ever heard about how downhill skiers who are going like 50 miles an hour don't hit the trees? And the answer is they focus on the path. If you focus on a tree for even 1 second, next thing you know, you are one with the tree, man. Like, that's how they're announcing you on CNN later that day. And, everyone's saying what a nice person you were back when you were alive. You got to focus on the path. And the path might be simply these affirmations. Anything that you say, I am, and then you follow it up with words, that becomes true. I mean, unless you say able to fly, but when you say I am terrible at whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm bad at waking up in the morning, and that's going to become true. And I feel like that speaking of gratitude moment is an anchor. And I happen to know Heather as a leader. Like, Heather's the type of person, by the way, high producers always do this, where they will be murdering it at like every single thing in their life, and then they'll find the one thing that they suck at, and that's the thing that we focus on. And Heather, I love that about you, because it's part of what drives you to be great, right? Is that you're always looking to refine yourself, and it's never ending, and that's great. And I would also say, give yourself grace and love as you go through that process, because the truth of the matter is you've already changed more lives than most people on this call, and I think that that's going to keep happening. And so the focus needs to be on, what would you do for Heather if she was a person in your world? What would you tell her if she wasn't you? At the end of the day, that coaching is going to be more profound than anything that we could provide you on this call. I see Mike Holt with his hand up. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? Again, this is huge, man. Ron, thanks a ton. I wrote down a few notes and some things that I really have kind of been struggling with lately is like accountability, like to myself and to those that I work with and whatnot. And so we actually came together, me and a group of guys that I work with, and we reach out daily now in the morning and at night to hold each other accountable, because we have common goals. We know what it takes to get there. And just having somebody there to kind of push you along really goes a long way. And another thing that I was talking about with somebody that I'm really close with is, he used the words imposter syndrome, right? Like, a lot of times we get in business and as successful as we might be or unsuccessful as we might be, we feel the need to be ultra successful. Like, I want to be where Jeff is. I want to be where John is. And like, I want to do the things that they do, right? I'm not there. I'm not as experienced as them. I need to learn from them. So I need to be real with myself and vulnerable to know that I'm not there, but I do have what it takes to get there. And I think one of the biggest things that I took from this is the absolute necessity for a real vision board, right? Like I love your vision board. Every time I've thought of a vision board, and I've done these in the past, is I just put like pictures of goals on there, right? Like I want a nice house, I want a nice boat, or I want a nice whatever. And what I like about your vision board idea is is having what we want to be. Like, who are we? What do we want to be? What do we want to do? And why do we want to do those things? And I think the vision board is going to be life-changing for me and those around me. And I really just wanted to say thank you, man, because that's exactly what I needed today.
Dude, you're awesome, brother. Hope I get to do more life with you ahead, man. I love, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Hey, Katarina Vert, I see you up there and you got your hand up. Let's see if we can get you up on screen here. What's up, friend? Are you able to unmute?
Hold on. I actually forgot that I put my hand up for a while. I think I forgot what I was going to mention. So I'm sorry.
No sweat at all. Well, Ron, I really love everything that we're covering here because it is so core to, I think, what actually creates true foundational level success. And that's something that we focus on so much in these calls with the community. I know as we're coming up to the end, by the way, if you're a guest with us today, I have to just mention really quickly as an aside that this is a place where we support agents inside of our group. Our group's called The Community. We happen to be located inside a real estate brokerage called eXp Realty. And the only reason that we're located there is because the company decided to make all of us owners and treat us as such. Instead of being treated as tenants, as renters inside of our brokerage, it's always better to own than to rent. And if you want to talk to somebody, talk to the person who invited you here today so you could learn a little bit more about why that's so cool. But I will also say, if you're looking for someone to challenge your mindset, to challenge you to go to the next level, and also to build this consistent approach in your daily diet, moving towards success in whatever area of your life, having a coach is a non-negotiable. I really mean that. Having a coach is a non-negotiable. And you may be thinking, I can't afford one right now. I think you can't afford not to have one right now. And these guys are amazing. I really love it if you'd reach out with Ron. I know that he gave his contact info, and we'll have you give that again at the end, Ron. But make sure, or maybe put it in the chat for us, Ron, if you don't mind, just the best way for folks to reach out. But if you're looking for somebody to hold you accountable so that you can stay on track with the behaviors, because we all know, listen, everyone on this call knows what's required to lose 10 pounds. How hard is it to do? Hard for whatever friggin' reason. Why? Because the habits don't reflect the goal, right? The consistent daily approach. Guess what? If you ate X number of calories per day, it doesn't matter how big your bones are, your body gets smaller. I promise I've done it. Okay. It's weird, but you have to tackle the mind first. And every single goal in our life, doesn't matter which area you're in, every single area of your life is positively impacted. And in fact, as Lexi says here, she says a coach helps you put on your oxygen mask so you can be your best for others and yourself, right? Put on your mask first. We do it the same way in this industry, and a coach is a person who can help you with that. And there's a lot of great coaches around you, but I would recommend always interview new people. Ron's incredible, guys. If you didn't get something positive out of today, it's because you were doing this. You weren't listening. The other truth of the matter is, and I would encourage everyone to do this, any single time that you come to a session, whether it's this one or somewhere else, and you're learning things, here's what I want to start encouraging you to do. Because I go to a lot of sessions. I learn a lot from a lot of people. And many times I hear stuff that I've heard before. Right? I want to ask that question. Who heard something today that you've heard before? Yeah, a lot of us. But here's the other part. And I will say this, who heard something today that they've never heard before that could potentially change their life? Me too. By the way, me too. I see hands going up in the videos. That's amazing, right? Ron was fire. Thanks, Mike. And the thing that I want you to start doing, and this is another consistent daily, weekly, monthly approach to your life, is you're looking for what I call the $1 million morsel. Every single time I go into a room, doesn't matter if it's in a conversation. Lexi and I have some new friends, they just happen to be mooring up their yacht here in the marina in our neighborhood. And so we went over, we hung out with them on their boat the other night. It was beautiful. And as we're in that conversation, I realized that there were 2 nuggets that were dropped that could potentially change our entire life. Our entire life. It wasn't deliberate. We weren't there for a coaching session, but just out of that conversation, 2 things, boom, hit. Now, does that mean that they automatically will? No. But when you're looking for that, when you're tuned in for that, when your I am statement, when your be, do, have is that I am a person who always understands that opportunity is around me constantly, and I'm completely dialed in so that it never gets by me, then guess what starts to happen? You join eXp Realty or whatever the other big opportunities are in your world. right? That's how this works. And I got to say, or you reach out to Ron and Buddy and you talk to the folks at Southwestern Consulting to learn how to take your business to the next level. I really appreciate you being here today, man. This stuff is so true. And I have to say, I have to believe that this is why you are so successful. You've been doing this for a long time. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Been 30,
awesome.
My 30th year with Southwestern.
Jeez Louise. Ron started with them when he was 6.5 years old. It's incredible. Still going, man. I got to start running. You look good, bro.
It's the Zoom filters, I think, that help.
I know. All the new AI stuff. Ron's actually 183 years old, but we can't see him right now. That's good. Well, this is really fun. Thank you guys so much for being here. Ron put his contact info in there. If you're watching this on the post play, we're going to post it underneath. What final parting shots do you have, Ron?
Well, all I'd say is we're all in this together. And I love just being with you guys. I mean, so yeah, feel free to reach out to Buddy. That's why we were all put on this earth, is to help each other. And so Buddy's in Salem, Oregon. I'm up in Seattle, but we have coaches and and so a lot of times we'll do the more intimate workshops in person. So if that's a thought, or we're just talking one-on-one about your specific stuff, give Buddy a shout, myself, or whatever offline. But Jeff, thank you. We work with a lot of leaders, and you can tell when it's pure. You can tell when there's someone that's leading from authenticity, but also example. And so, I love being a part of this with you guys.
Well, it's our pleasure, and likewise, same at you. Amazing. We do love the community. We love all the agents here, and the truth of the matter is, all of us are here to support each other and to be in this game called life together. Right? We've all got the same end zone, my friends, and you can't take it with you. So it really matters what you do in the meantime. And I love that you spent part of your meantime with us today. In the meantime, hey, one last reminder that we've got EXPCon coming up here in October, at the beginning of October. If you haven't already bought your plane ticket, your event ticket, and your hotel room, that's the trifecta. You got to get all three if you want to go, right? You can't sleep you probably can sleep in the parking lot. It's Vegas, but I wouldn't do it. Right? So you want to get all three. And the number of people who've been like, oh, I forgot to get my hotel room. Now I can't go. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. We'll all make fun of you. All right. We want you there. Build your business, build your life, build your mindset, and also get more referrals. That's a really powerful part of what we do. Plus, guess what? We're all going to be hanging out in person. And set yourself a goal. Buy EXPCon. But the first goal is attend with us. All right. Thank you guys again so much for being here. You are the best part of the community. We appreciate you. And we'll talk to you again soon. All right. Thanks, everyone.
You guys.